Peace and positive. This is Amelia A. Ottar, aka Emily MC, author of Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. And today's topic is on gut feelings, trusting your instincts, and the power of discernment on mental health and quality of life. Now, before we get into some clips from the global community, we're looking at the nitty-gritty behind self-determination and the power of choice. That's often the difference between night and day, dark and light, unclear and crystal clear, or even danger and safety. Now, whether this be in the short terms of daily life and interactions or the long terms of life vision, career goals, or relationship preferences, we're looking at the tool of discernment in our mental health toolbox in the form of social, visual, verbal, or behavioral cues. That's the 5 and more senses. That's perception, that's pattern recognition. We can examine from the people environments around us and, first and foremost, about ourselves. We're also looking at the deep knowing we get in silence, solitude, or even passing moments. Whether we're required to pause, stay quiet, gatekeep, reset our understanding, or create a new reality, we're here to assess the importance of right-minded judgment, of the difference between right and almost right, and how owning and protecting our mental real estate gives us steadiness, even in the most vulnerable of building stages or uncertainty. We're here to reinforce the engine of self-determination and the deciding of what life we want to live and create by recognizing and bravely swimming the waters of self-trust and constructive evaluation. These two being muscles that need our exercise, attunement, and inspired action in accordance with right thoughts and feelings. Not later, but in the moments we're called to their attention. So what are we talking about when we say the word discernment, especially when it comes to mental health and quality of life? Well, for starters, quote, scientific research establishes that discernment, the cognitive and emotional ability to accurately evaluate internal states, assess relationships, and filter information is foundational for mental well-being, end quote. And that's from a 2019 Science Direct published scholarly article titled Assessment of Three-Dimensional Wisdom in Schizophrenia, Associations with Neuropsychological Functions and Physical and Mental Health. And I'm glad it talked about filtering because processing information is one of discernment's biggest jobs. According to a 2021 Emerald Insights published scholarly article titled Information Discernment and the Psychophysiological Effects of Misinformation, quote, research shows that individuals with high discernment skills exhibit positive psychophysiological responses, aka a challenge state, to challenging information, whereas those with low discernment face increased stress and threat responses, end quote. Discernment is our personal decoder, stress reducer, and evaluator. It's what keeps us from getting lost in the sauce, so to speak, from losing ourselves in strong energies or destructive thoughts. It's what stops us from repeating the same lessons over and over again. It's the wisdom and application that breaks cycles and keeps new roads clear. And please note, this is not the same thing as hypervigilance or fear-based anxiety. And to that point, respectfully, a lot of the content surrounding discernment in recent years centers around religion or the narratives of spiritual groups. So much so that people may not associate discernment with mental, psychological, and emotional health and only with spirituality and spiritual health. That discernment only exists as spiritual discernment. Now, this was something we covered in the Day 17 Hygiene, Energetic Discern, and Preventive Care episode with those who spoke on spiritual hygiene. However, there's so much more. Because much like the Day 19 episode on the art of noticing and being aware of your surroundings, this is a small but incredibly important aspect of mental health that gets overlooked a lot. It's hard for many to speak constructively about it or be taken seriously if not speaking in religious terms or even in business terms where money is involved and we're talking about discernment and the art of negotiation, economics, and finance. But when it's not involving the tenets of a denominational religion or the bottom line of cold, hard cash, discernment can sound like a waste of time because we're talking about independent thought that doesn't always have evidence, that isn't always quantifiable, and yet still involves a deep level of thoughtfulness, even in just a few seconds. This kind of perceptive, open-minded, creative, self-determined, critical thinking can be powerful in the right or wrong hands. And yet, the lack of discernment, the steering people away from evolved mental processing, seems to keep millions of people in stagnation, dependency, and an over-easiness to be influenced or succumb that much easier to mental disorders and imbalances. Another gift that discernment begets is something called cognitive flexibility. According to psychological theorist R.J. Starr's piece entitled Discernment, a psychological skill, not a moral stance, highly recommend, quote, discernment functions as a mental shock absorber. It involves holding multiple perspectives simultaneously and moving away from cognitive brittleness, which is associated with rigidity and psychological distress, end quote. In martial arts, it's a learned understanding that things in balance, flow, rhythm, and motion don't break and can easily adapt to change or self-defense. Discernment allows us to engage in martial arts in the mind and avoid rigid thinking that can lead to painful or destructive breakage under pressure. And sidebar, if you'll get creative with me for a quick minute, the 1958 film Anti-Maim featured the iconic line, quote, life is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death. Now, I've also heard this phrase as life is a buffet and most motherfuckers don't even know what's being served. Well, in an inverse way, I see discernment in this matrix metaphor of sorts, that by using it, we're given an awareness of a whole lot more happening than meets the eye, and a lot more of what's being served in life and in front of us. Discern is an active laboratory and a dance floor. It requires us to be nimble and curious, not fixed and righteous. It's the spidey senses we yield for and the emotional traps we avoid. It's lessons learned that become guiding principles and the power of choice we're presented with. It's gut instincts and intuition we were given by nature and creation for a reason. Concluding with a bit more from that R.J. Starr piece, quote, when people say they're being discerning, what they often mean is that they see through others, hold the correct position, and are not fooled in the way less sophisticated people are. Discernment becomes shorthand for righteousness with a cognitive gloss. This is not discernment. It is posturing. In this form, the word functions socially rather than psychologically. It signals belonging, alignment, or superiority. It is invoked after certainty has already set in, not during the slow and uncertain work of judgment. The word gains status, but it loses precision. From a neuropsychological perspective, this shift is understandable, even if regressive. Certainty activates the brain's reward system and produces a hit of dopamine that is mistaken for clarity. True discernment, by contrast, requires higher level regulation. It asks the brain to inhibit snap judgments, tolerate ambiguity, and resist tribal shortcuts. That work consumes energy. It's metabolically expensive. Given the option, the brain will almost always prefer a cheaper substitute that feels just as convincing. Psychologically, discernment is a capacity, not a conclusion. It refers to the ability to notice distinctions, weigh competing interpretations, regulate emotional reactivity, and delay closure long enough for something more accurate to emerge. Discernment is process-based. It lives in attention rather than identity. It requires tolerating ambiguity rather than erasing it. It involves a willingness to revise rather than a need to defend. In cognitive terms, it reflects high-level flexibility, the ability to move between perspectives and hold multiple possibilities in mind without collapsing prematurely into one. Now, I know there's people who stop believing that free will exists or that it even matters deeply. I know many people are feeling decision fatigue more often these days and have stopped getting to know themselves, stopped investing in their own health and wellness. I'm aware that people surrender their power of choice every day for convenience and perceived or actual safety. I know that it can feel easier to blend in with the familiar, society, and popular public opinion than to challenge the brain to think for itself, stand on its own instincts, and be your own person. But sometimes discernment is all we have. The raw poet Killer Priest said very confidently on Jiz's Liquid Swords masterpiece Fourth Chamber in 1995, quote, I judge wisely, as if nothing ever surprised me, end quote. But sometimes we have to make a healthy judgment when we don't feel as confident about ourselves. Sometimes discernment gives us the answers we need from asking, what am I being shown here? Instead of, why is this happening to me? Sometimes it's the key to crushing a goal or at the least completing it to satisfaction. And sometimes, especially when faced with stress, Discernment is what allows us to process and move forward in life with peace instead of in pieces. Now, if you're following along with my original book, this is the day 27 quote from page 171. And based on today's topic, here's prompt number 28. Thank you all for your support of Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. And without further ado, let's roll the clips and hear from the global community about intuition, positive judgment, and discernment for greater mental health and quality of life. Peace.
The best thing to do is read the room when you walk in. But I think
you ever been in a spot and you in there, you like, I shouldn't be in here.
If you feel that, if your gut tell you that, like, yeah,
fact.
That's when you should
I've
breathe.
been in a few spots like that. Y'all be shaking my head like, yo, this where it goes down at right here.
Yeah,
that's a fact, though. Many spots, but you know where you should be, what you shouldn't be, and sometimes you push the line and do some shit, maybe out of boredom or that you shouldn't have done.
I shouldn't have been there, but I loved it.
Look. You know what spot I'm talking about when we was in that little spot, the bodega joint? Oh,
yeah.
God. Oh, God. That was...
Oh, no. They closed that. But I feel like sometimes you're going to enjoy yourself
sometimes it's
way
better like
more
that.
in the
jungle.
Yeah,
sometimes.
in the trench spots.
Yes, sometimes.
Then you're going to do in the bougie spot. The bougie spot cool, but sometimes you're going to enjoy yourself a little more. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the balance of life, right? Don't belong here. Let me slide.
We need to understand that discernment is not just the ability to distinguish right from wrong, but rather it's the ability to distinguish right from almost right. I don't want to have to learn that this was rotten fruit until after I take a bite. I want to know before I ever bite it.
I think people need to realize that it's so important to build discernment because, look, when you on social media, it's going to get tricky. You're going to be scrolling and you're going to come across a video like, pineapples are so good for you. They're so good for your health. You should eat them every day. They're very nutritious. You should add them a part of your diet. You're going to be scrolling some more. You're going to come across another video like, pineapples are bad for you. The fibers are bad for your tongue. You shouldn't eat pineapples. They're not real. You're going to be scrolling and come across another video. You should be vegan. Vegan is the best way to live. It's the most healthiest way. If you're not vegan, then you're not spiritual. You're going to be scrolling and come across another video. Oh, eating meat is my protein. Eating meat, it keeps me balanced. Moral of the story, everybody is in their own reality, living their own life. Everybody is on a different path. We are all on individual journeys. What works for somebody else may not work for you. You have to find out what works for you. You can't always listen to people on social media. You ever heard of take what resonates, leave what doesn't? Just because somebody is sharing their life and sharing what works for them, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It's possible for sure. It's possible, but that doesn't always mean that. Use your discernment.
Some of you are calling hypervigilance discernment. And let's clear something up. Discernment is spirit-led clarity, while hypervigilance is trauma-trained scanning. And they both can feel similar, but they are very much not the same. Discernment is steady. It doesn't spiral. It doesn't catastrophize. It doesn't rush you into fear. While hypervigilance is your nervous system constantly scanning for danger. So if you grew up walking on eggshells, if you've been betrayed, if you've had to overfunction just to keep things stable, your brain has learned, stay alert, stay ready, don't get caught off guard. And that's not spiritual insight, that's conditioning. Neurologically, your amygdala activates before your logical brain catches up. So you feel tension, urgency, a sense that something is off. But here's the difference. Discernment will produce clarity, while hypervigilance will produce anxiety. Discernment leads with peace, while hypervigilance leads with fear. If you don't renew your mind, you'll spiritualize your stress responses and call it wisdom. God's voice is clear. Trauma is loud.
Let's talk about the gift of discernment and the gift of knowing. There's many different ways that God talks to people, audibly, visually, right? A feeling. You get around people, you kind of feel their spirit. God talks to people in an limited way of ways. But I want to talk about the knowing. This is when you just know. Like, you know how you know. Like, I know the Holy Spirit told me this, but it's not tangible. I can't trace it back. The only context I could provide you is the context the Holy Spirit gave me. No more, no less. And I used to always think this was the most challenging way because with knowing, you have to trust your discernment. Yo, this knowing, you got to trust it. Every time. You got to trust it because the Holy Spirit will tell you something that does not make sense in the moment. You have no evidence, but you know.
Pray for discernment. That's the ability to understand what people truly want from you, to sense the obscure. It's so important in this world in which you're constantly being advertised to, especially on social media. You want to know whether a person is trying to sell you a solution, a problem, or a fantasy. Right? Take this pill and you can lose 30 pounds in 30 days and maintain it off. Or take this pill and you'll have increased attention and focus such that you can reorganize all your life and resolve your problems. Or take this pill and you can go back to back to back to back.
Discernment is one of those things where it's best if someone can teach you how to be discerning at a young age and prepare you for what to look for. If you don't learn that way, it's trial by combat. I might get a pen if I were you. Just because you want everyone to win doesn't mean they want you to win. A cruel person will not reward your goodness with goodness. They will reward it with cruelty. If you have a pattern of finding yourself in one-sided competitions, you're not protecting yourself well enough. No shade, you just need to learn how. If you were not taught to be discerning, chances are good that was intentional. You were likely trained to be controllable rather than to think for yourself. Intentional. You're going to have to learn to be mean. And I say mean because it's not actually mean, it's self-protective. But if you've been cultivated in environments that don't want you to believe you have the right to protect yourself, you've likely been trained to think that protecting yourself is being mean. You're not going to like this one. And it's not fair. Not everyone is going to celebrate your evolution. In fact, the only people who are going to celebrate your evolution are people who value evolving, which isn't most people. If you're someone who gets a lot of attention and you don't want it, be careful having people around you who really value attention. If you're a woman with a bright light who's attracted to men, please understand, an insecure man, it doesn't matter if he's your man, he can still feel envious of you. Pay attention to the way he speaks life out of you. This can look like encouraging you to dress beneath your usual standard, discouraging you from working out, belittling your goals. He knows that you're attractive. He likes the fact that you're attractive, but he only likes the fact that it makes him look attractive to have someone attractive. He doesn't actually like you owning your own attractiveness or benefiting from it.
Let's talk about discernment. Discernment in spirituality is paramount. Discernment pertains to our ability to recognize and decipher people, places, things, energies, motives and intentions, truths from tales. Discernment has to do with being able to peep the real deal. Not what they told you, but what it is. So how does someone sharpen their gift of discernment? You sharpen your gift by using your gift. The same way you sharpen a skill by using the skill. The more you pay attention to what you hear and what you feel and what you see and you act accordingly and you find that you were right, the more you will trust yourself the next time. And that is so important, especially if you are on a spiritual journey. You're dealing with ancestors, you're dealing with spirits, and you're dealing with yourself. Something that most people don't talk about is that being able to discern your own thoughts is one of the key skills in this walk. Being able to separate fact from fiction. Being able to separate your imagination from what's really happening. Being able to separate your voice from spirit's voice. Not being able to discern in that way is the reason that many people have found themselves in a state of psychosis.
I don't stop working on myself. I don't. I'm not woo-woo. I'm like one woo. So, you know what I mean? I'm like one woo. So I do all do all the things. I do the healing. I do the acupuncture. I do the spinal energetics. I do the Reiki. I do the breath work. I do, that's what that's my life. That's who I am for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've done the work.
I do the work. Yeah.
Nobody has come along and fixed you or healed you.
Nobody can't fix nobody. Period. Anyway, that's just
Heard you, sis.
Yeah.
Damn, I don't know who's watching this right now, but somebody needed to hear that real bad.
Please.
Nobody can hear. Nobody's coming against you. Nope. You have to do it.
Yep. But no one can prepare you for it at all. There are no handbooks. There are no, and people that are above you, which I don't know what the hell I thought. I thought it was like a fucking country club. Like I would go up to people, like other girl rappers and be like, hi, I just got signed. Do you want to be on my album? Like I was such a nerd, like straight up.
But you meant well. And they were like,
and they would be like, girl, I just had this preconceived notion that it was like a sisterhood.
Yeah.
And that people kind of pulled you up and they talked to you and all that. And that shit just
well, you'd hope
happen. So. But I did that to other people because I hated that it wasn't done to me. So as I came up and became and got a name and all that, if other younger artists would want to talk to me or want me to hear their record or whatever, always take my number, call me, whatever, because it's fucking lonely. You are the busiest. You are surrounded by the most people in your life. Not for everyone, because not everyone's journey is like that. My journey was like this. I was lonely. There were days where I was so lonely, so sad, so stressed, and had no one to talk to about it.
Let's talk about the difference between regret and lament. Say you go to a restaurant and there's a 3-item menu: chicken, fish, house salad. So you order the chicken. When your meal comes, the chicken is good, it's delicious, but when you start looking around at the other tables, you can't help but notice some people got steak, some people got shrimp, some people got pasta and lobster. And so you flag down your waiter and you say, "Excuse me, the chicken is delicious, don't get me wrong, but how did these other people get steak and shrimp and seafood?" And the waiter says, "Well, your meal is determined by the menu you got. You got a 3-item menu. And it's not that the chicken isn't good, it's just that you wish you had known there were other options to choose from." Society as it is currently constructed hands you a 3-item menu. Go to work, get married, have kids. That's a full meal. That's a full life. And a lot of people who got that 3-item menu, it's not that they have regret, okay? It's not that they don't love the people that are currently in their life, but a lot of people have lament, wishing that they had known that there were other options. And the reason why a lot of people don't know that there are other options is because society as it is currently constructed weaponizes guilt and shame and manipulation and manufactures social pressure like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have some kids? And these messages come from family, they come from faith institutions, they come from so many portals of society that people feel like, okay, let me build my life from this 3-item menu. And while they're grateful for their jobs and have love for their families, there are many people who still feel like there are things that are missing from their plate because they did not develop themselves. They did not travel. They did not have experiences or cultivate passions or hobbies just to determine who they were as a person. And so if your life currently reflects the 3-item menu, please know it is not too late to add some side dishes to the plate. But if your life doesn't look like that and you didn't get married and you don't have kids and you think that you can't have a full life without them, well, that's not true either. The quality of your life is often determined by the menu that is presented to you. And I just want you to know that there are more than 3 items on the menu.
And one of the things we're born knowing is that choice is power. We know that. We absolutely know that, which is why when we are in a circumstance where we can't speak, where someone takes away how do you punish someone? You take away their power of choice. Or this is one of the most horrendous things ever, to be without choice, to have your choices made for you. It's suffocating. It's horrific. If I wrote the medical book now, causes of suffering and illness, causes of true mental anguish, it's that this person's power of choice has been anesthetized. We don't even put that down. But I'm telling you, it's one of the leading causes of depression, if not suicide. Feeling that my choices are ineffective. I have no power in me to make a choice. And the fear of making a choice, and then here it comes, being wrong. What? And this is where the universe is like, well, what do you think wrong is? According to what? And this is where you've made other choices, because every choice is packed with, well, here's my definition of what's right or wrong, good or bad. I've chosen, you've chosen, what you think equals that. And so if this choice doesn't produce this outcome, then you've decided it was the wrong choice. You've made the whole thing up. You've made up the equation. You have. You have no idea. I remember a nun told me one time, I love the wisdom I got from the girls. And I was feeling like my whole life was ended. I wanted to throw myself off the bridge because I didn't get the job of being editor of the college magazine. So she calls me over and she says, come here. And I could be so dramatic. She said, you remember this, rejection is protection. If it didn't happen, it's because something else was supposed to.
God gave you one thing over every species on earth, is the power of choice.
Your spiritual hygiene requires you to gatekeep, and it requires your discernment on what you're going to gatekeep. It's not everything you're meant to give away, especially not for for free. That is a dirty, dirty habit. Your quality of life is not only tied to who and what you let in, it is also tied to how much of yourself you give away and for what reasons. So when you're not actively gatekeeping certain parts of yourself, you are muddying your waters and you are dampening your aura because you lack the fundamental belief and practice in ownership and of ownership. You don't see the divine role that ownership plays in your life journey, and it's doing a lot of harm to your growth.
If you have ADHD, it's likely that one of your greatest powers is discernment.
My name is Taylor Nicole, and I'm the founder of Daily Plus CEO, personal development brand for the neurodivergent, and this is very true. The ADHD brain processes a lot of data, and so this is why you'll meet somebody with ADHD and they may have sensory issues, or you'll meet somebody with ADHD and they think that you talk too slow. This is also one of the reasons for easily feeling overstimulated. And one of the things that's unique about this is because you are always processing all of this data, you're also able to pick up easily on pattern recognition very fast. So part of that discernment is from you overprocessing data and realizing something is off. And it's also why if you're somebody with ADHD or some other form of neurodiversity, you're able to pick up on things way before other people are.
When you got strong discernment, you gotta make peace with looking crazy sometimes, because discernment is having information without the evidence, like without tangible evidence. That's exactly what discernment is. And me personally, when I deal with people, I'm responding to the intentions, not the performance, not how you presenting yourself, not because performance is usually people's way of controlling the situation. When somebody is performative and they are like putting in the effort to make sure that you see them and treat them in a certain way, it's usually because they're trying to cover up their true intentions. I respond to your intentions and not your presentation, not your performance. And that shit be throwing people off, because that shit be like, well, I'm being nice and I'm smiling and I'm doing X, Y, and Z, but like she's not receptive to it. I'm not receptive to it because my discernment is telling me to get the fuck away from you. And I think people really if you do not have discernment, yes, it sounds crazy. It sounds made up. My body literally tells me to get the fuck away from people. And I've learned my lesson. I'm not going against myself for nobody. So yeah, you gotta be cool with looking crazy. I'm gonna always respond to your intention. I'm not responding to your performance. So please don't look at me as the bad guy. You can, but I would prefer not.
Been a war my whole life, and when I say war, it's not pertaining to strictly violence. Like, you could be at war with yourself, you could be at war with problems. I've been at war with problems my whole life, to the point where it's like I gain intuition and gut feelings to know, like, before something happens, it's like I know it's about to happen.
A lot of the decisions are kind of like gut feelings. Like the music business and entertainment in general, there's no school for it. Right. You know, so you got to kind of instinctively make the right decisions and be spontaneous and not be afraid to actually be yourself in different ways. Like I've interacted with artists that have great talents in different spaces. They're amazing. They can do things that I can't actually do, but they can't beat me at being me.
And when you have discernment, you need to learn how to shut the heck up. Because sometimes you're putting people on to exactly what they're trying to do. You're putting people on to the fact that you see them doing certain things that they thought they could get away with. And what's going to end up happening is, because they see maybe you peep this pattern in others, they're going to start shape-shifting and hiding themselves. So now they're elongating their attachment to you that you could have peeped long ago and cut off accordingly because you ran your mouth too much about what you saw in somebody else. Okay? Not only that, these people will work to get you to doubt your discernment in your mind. These are the type of people where you say, this person was hating on me, this person was bullying me, this person was weird towards me, this person is attracted to me. They're constantly trying to fight back on what you know to be true because they want you doubting yourself, because that's how they can get the power over you. They're threatened by the power you have over yourself, the power of knowingness that gives you security. And they want some of that for themselves. So what they do instead is try to get you to doubt yourself so that they can have some sense of control. These people will never affirm you, especially when they're carrying out the acts that others are doing.
You ever had a friend that you try to tell people were hating on you, and you telling this one friend, and they're like, no, I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like that. Down the line, you realize they're your biggest hater? Exactly. People won't agree with what's exposing them as well. This is why sometimes you just gotta, what you see in others, because if you look around you, they'll start showing the same traits that you saw in somebody afar in your own inner circle. Now, had you tipped them off to what you peeped in somebody maybe afar, you wouldn't see these traits for a while because they know to hide them. When you can peep a trait you don't like in somebody and stay quiet about it, you would be surprised who all in your camp has been spread with this disease and are showing symptoms of its sickness.
If I feel it, I trust how I feel. I know my intentions is pure. My instincts is like connection to a higher understanding. You don't need the facts all the time. Just go off how you feel. And so I think that I've learned to listen to my gut and my instincts. So just being confident in, I don't need confirmation. If I feel it, I trust how I feel.
Most people think they know King Von's story, but there's a part almost nobody talks about. Before rap, before the streets, Von actually had a completely different future in mind. In school, he wasn't just paying attention, he was one of the smartest in the whole class. Teachers said he had potential. His friends said he was confident, focused, and always thinking ahead. And when someone asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he didn't say rapper or gang leader. He said he wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah, a lawyer. But life in Chicago doesn't always let you choose your path. The streets pulled him in, and the kid who could have been arguing cases in a courtroom became a name that put fear and respect into the whole city. Whether you agree with his choices or not, one thing's real. King Von was way smarter than people give him credit for. If you believe he could have been anything he wanted, type LLKV.
Like, that's whatever, the material goods, your personal space, your ideas. Because your greatest world is really just your inner being. You have to be in charge of that, not let everybody else do it. Unfortunately, many people are a part of the herd, the masses, and all they doing is following along, whether it's clothing styles, whether it's even political ideas. They're not questioning why they're doing it. They just following along because somebody else did. You're not the alpha then. You're allowing outside forces to dictate what you're going to do. And that can be economic, that can be political, that can be spiritual. Indeed, that's why even, like, many people have asked me to talk about spirituality more on my Deep Thought channel. And I said, no, because people have different paths and every man has to find his own path. I'm not going to dictate something. Because all I could dictate is my personal stuff, and you're not alpha if you're doing that. You become beta to me if I'm dictating how you actually live your life. Heck, even when we talk about sovereignty, for everything I say, it's more sovereign if you say, nah, this is how I'm going to live. Okay. All right, I don't agree, but as long as you decide it, not somebody else, not the days, whether it's the economic days or the metaphysical days, you have to decide that. You have to decide that. It's up to you. It's up to you. You have to be the alpha. You have to say, look, I'm in charge of this. It doesn't matter if you're not like, some politician or some spiritual leader or some YouTube influencer. It's your life. Ultimately, you're responsible for it. Any ideas you accept is only because you accept the ideas, not because you just following along. Because too many men, people in general, but this Sovereign Saturday. So we're going to address the men specifically. And too many men just follow along. Too many men following the trends and anything. How are you a man? How are you an alpha? Indeed, that's why I will have a problem with someone calling themselves, I'm a beta, or I'm non-select, or anything like that. Why accept it? In your world, you the top dog. You are the top dog. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
I'm always a little afraid to be a diva, to come across like I'm arrogant or this, that, and the other. But like, I know the best moments of my career, point blank, have been when I have followed my instincts, acted on my own heart.
You're gonna get what you think you deserve. And this is what most people have issues with understanding. If you think you deserve something, that's what you're going to attract. that's what you're going to move towards. Your subconscious mind is going to move towards it in ways you aren't even aware of. This is why you keep having issues or hard times with certain things, because deep down inside, if you don't feel like you deserve something, your subconscious mind is going to lead you in the direction that you feel you only deserve. Like, you know, it's kind of like that negative voice in the back of your mind, except instead of talking, it's acting without your knowledge. So if you don't think you deserve a better partner, a better lifestyle, a better living environment, that subconscious mind is going to keep you making the same mistakes to keep you exactly where you are. So that has to be fixed first and foremost. This is where self-mastery comes in, because it's the reprogramming of your mind in order to be able to manifest what you really desire. You first have to feel deserving of it, which means that you have to forgive yourself of anything that you've done to make you think that you don't deserve something, or put out the voice of someone who has told you you don't deserve something, put it out of your mind. That has to be done first. When you do that, your manifestations and anything you're trying to accomplish will come so much easier. Okay? It takes as long as it takes you, baby. So the sooner you can reprogram your mind, the sooner you can be winning. It's about knowing. Okay? Know that you deserve something and you can have it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have been brainwashed to self-destruct. That is so true. Imagine if you took that same power that you brainwash yourself with every day and turned it around to, make yourself better each day. And also, if you share information with people and you know they're negative, you're asking for it. Your subconscious mind is telling you, you're not going to do it. Why don't you tell that negative person so they can knock some sense into you? Because most people that accomplish things don't go around telling people everything. They just go and do it. You don't wake up every day and tell your mother, oh, guess what? I'm going to work. Guess what? Or your significant other or your friend or your toxic coworker or your toxic family member. You don't go up there and tell them every move you make. You only tell them the stuff that you may be afraid to do and you think you don't deserve it or you can't do it and you need someone else's opinion on it. And you know theirs is going to be negative. So it's almost like talking yourself out of it. And when you tell someone you know is negative. So stop telling negative people the things that you're planning on doing. Because all that means is that you don't even think you can do it because you're telling someone that you know is going to be negative towards you so that you can talk yourself out of it later on because, oh, well, they don't think I can do it either. Now you have two people against you, yourself and that person you decide to tell. So manifesting is best when done when you are happy, when you are feeling accomplished. When you accomplish one goal, manifest the next thing right then and there in that feeling. Oh my God, I can't believe I just finished, whatever. I can't believe I got this right then and there. That energy, this energy is what you need to be manifesting the next goal with. Don't wait. Don't go and party and wait and then forget about it and then say, okay, well, what's next? Now you're low again and that energy is not there and that self-confidence is not there. That self-confidence is not there and that feeling of deserving is not there. So when you win something, when you accomplish something, when you, reach your goal in your celebration, you also need to be manifesting the next.
Don't listen to anybody. Don't even listen to me. You already know what you need to do. It's in you. It's talking to you all the time. You downplay it because you think you're not experienced or you know you're not experienced, so you're scared to listen to yourself. But you know you. Your soul knows you, and that's what you're listening to in your head. Trust it. Trust your gut. Go with your first instincts. You can't lose. Words are life. Speak things into existence and create your universe. Protect yourself with your words. The universe is listening.